Going back.
Let's play some Dungeons
I'm
and
just been
Dragons
flipping
here.
my mute because I've been snaggling.
We're all snaggling.
We go back to Mahogany talking to Riot. No, you gotta heat up the rat first.
So that's been another episode of Nodal doesn't approve of our snack decisions.
I don't approve of anything.
Right.
Nodal is
boiled hot
just
dogs.
sentient hate. Like a cloud of sentient hate. That's what I picture.
All right, Mahogany and Serenity, you're spending the afternoon resting.
I approve of you, Brick Road.
Yep.
Kelian, what were the results on those 4 strength check or stealth checks?
21, 17, a natural 20 for a 30, and then a 20.
So, I mean, you cheated on those. Clearly.
Clearly.
Okay. As far as comings and goings, there is not a lot of activity outside of the monks who are working here going in and out of the house. Several times throughout the day, monks that you haven't seen in the morning show up, and it looks like they take over the shifts. It looks like what they're doing is they're repairing some long-abandoned shelters nearby in the hopes of expanding their main one. You see 2 monks are preparing another plot of, not dirt, because there's no dirt in Sigil, but they're preparing basically just digging this hole where they're going to transplant another tree. And you overhear some discussion about how their intention is to have a garden with wildflowers. So my first question is, how closely are you listening to what they're talking about? Is that something Kelian's interested in doing?
The conversations about wildflowers? No, Kelian
Doesn't
would
care?
not give it. No, Kelian would not care.
Okay. Almost all of the monks you see are either human or Githzerai, and as far as faction colors go, those that are displaying faction colors, mostly ciphers and godsmen, with a smattering of sensates, and then 1 or 2 of some other faction. As far as weapons go, almost everybody who comes to the site from the streets leading up to it, almost everybody you see arrive is carrying a weapon of some kind, but they're almost always cudgels or staves. You see 1 or 2 pairs of nunchucks, which is hilarious to me. I don't even think we have stats for nunchucks, do we? That seems like an oversight.
I think it's just like they reskin a flail for that.
I guess you could, yeah. But notably, you never see a bladed weapon, and you never see anything that looks mean. Like, no spiked maces, no whips. Everything looks like it's meant to geared towards subdual rather than killing.
Okay.
Once or twice throughout the day, not often, but once or twice, you see a monk arrive, walk through the worksite, and go directly to the alley where you were earlier.
I would pay those people special by them.
Okay.
See if they go into the cellar.
By the time you manage to get to a vantage point that can see into the alley, you do indeed see the cellar door closing. And they don't arrive together. They arrive separately, but some hours apart. As far as numbers go, you think over the course of the day you see maybe 30 or 40 of these people. So, any other questions you have for me about this site?
Is there is it one story or is it 2 story?
The main house, the one that you were
Yeah.
underneath today, the one with the trees in front of, is a 1-story structure. And it looks like some of the work they're doing might be bracing the walls to add a 2nd story.
Okay.
But right now, it's a one-story structure. One of the other houses they're working on was at one point a 3-story structure, but it's partially collapsed. So they're devoting a lot of work to cleaning that out and reinforcing it.
Yeah, that would be. That's the only question I have remaining. This is, and refresh my memory. This is the cult that was following around Mahogany, right?
Yeah, they're called
And
the Cult
there's
of the Jailer.
The Jailer, and they worship the Lady of Pain.
That's the thought. That's the idea that got them into trouble some years ago, is that the Lady of Pain certainly took it that way, and a lot of their high-ups got mazed.
Okay, and none of them, but they all have like blunt weapons.
They all have blunt weapons. You
But
do
a
once in a
woman who is
while
known
see...
for, like, flaying. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah, no blades whatsoever. Once in a while, you do see some iconography being shown that looks like the Lady of Pain. That looks similar to her face.
Mhm.
But it looks off to you for some reason. It doesn't look exactly like her. And you're not sure if it's the craftsmanship, or you're not sure if it's... because a lot of areas in Sigil, especially in the ladies' ward, the architecture incorporates blades and spikes. But you see none of that kind of thing here.
I don't know if that's smart and deliberate or stupid. Okay, yeah, that's all I got then.
Okay. Ciclon.
Yo.
Roll initiative.
Initiative, eh?
Yes, sir.
Fight.
14.
14.
Okay.
Okay. You win the initiative, and here's what you notice. You suddenly hear a voice call out your name as you're walking down one of these hive streets, and you turn to look just in time to see Discordance behind you, looking furious, and she's beginning to cast a spell. So you win initiative.
Okay. Bonus action. Psionic focus.
Okay.
And full defense.
Full defense.
Yep.
All right. You're going to make absolutely nothing. You don't get a save.
That's rude. Oh, I'm getting hexed, huh?
Screw you and your white ass. Yes, you are indeed getting hexed.
That figured. Yeah, I figured as much.
So you'll be at disadvantage on strength ability checks, not saving throws, not to hit rolls, just checks.
Okay.
And you feel the sensation of this curse sink into your body, and you feel this darkness just take hold across your muscles. And then she's going to get all Terran on your ass.
Oh, yeah? Back to the blade, huh?
Terran never used that blade. Are you kidding?
No, I used it a lot. It was just an Eldritch... Actually, like, this is the kind of level he would use it a lot. It was just Eldritch Missiles gets really good once you get the third missile.
She only has 2, though. Ciclon, you have an AC, right?
I do, and she's rolling disadvantage because full defense.
She is, and I did, but what's your AC?
15.
15? And she throws these 2, and they just blasts of darkness from her hand, and you hear a wailing sound, like a pained wailing, as they go screeching past your ears. And you have to do this ridiculous back handspring to dodge out of the way. That looked really friggin' awesome in slow motion.
Cool.
And she's shouting, but she's shouting these archaic and abyssal incantations, and she's rearing back to throw another volley. Your move.
Discordance, stop it! Charge at her, and yeah. Here we go. How does a How does a 24 do you?
Oh, that very hits.
That very does? Okay.
That very does.
Alright, d6 plus 2. 7 damage, and block her chi with a key point.
Block her chi, so she's stunned until when? Oh, she gets to make a save to try to end that, yes?
Yeah. I'm going to spend 2 key points on that for the extended effect.
So when El Ciclon does this to somebody, how does that stunning effect manifest? Like, do they just freeze in place, unable to move, or what happens?
Like I picture Ty Lee in Avatar: The Last Airbender. So I'm tapping pressure points and I got like arms go limp, that kind of thing.
Nerd.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah.
And what is that saving throw?
Cannot spend key points of superiority dice. Disadvantage of attack rolls. Save DCs are reduced by 5. And Constitution saving throw. DC
Okay.
I'm imagining is I have to look this up.
And she takes a -5 penalty to that for being stunned?
No, I get +5 to my saves against her stuff. Yeah. It's reducing the DC of her abilities. Like if she were to
Gotcha.
if she were to like throw like Hadar or something like that at me, then the DC is reduced by 5.
Like if Hex had a saving throw.
Yeah. So hang on, just 1 second. Yeah, I'm wondering what it doesn't really say what the DC is on here in the description.
It will in the PHB. If I had to guess, it would be your Wisdom 10 plus your Wisdom mod plus your proficiency bonus is my guess.
I think it's usually 8. It's 8.
8
plus
eight?
your-
plus.
Yeah,
plus your proficiency.
right. Do monks use Wisdom though for their
Yeah,
spellcasting
use
abilities?
I remember, yeah, I was using wisdom for my
All right.
Okay then.
my elemental stuff.
Okay, it'll be Wisdom.
Okay, so yeah, DC on that is going to be 8. 3 is 11. Plus proficiency is proficiency bonus should be 4 now, right?
3. You're
3.
level 6.
Yep.
All right. 8, 11, all right, 8, 11, 14 is DC.
So, I mean, your spellcasting save is something you should just have notated on your character sheet.
Yeah.
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 So she failed both that save and her concentration save, so the hex is gone.
All right, cool.
As you dart forward, and you pummel her once hard in the sternum, knock the wind out of her. She tumbles backwards onto the ground, and her muscles just go limp as she tries to pick herself up, but she just doesn't have the strength to do it. And she's just gritting her teeth and looking at you with just rage.
Discordance. Listen, this isn't the way to go about things.
Like taking an action?
No.
And neither is she. So what do you do with her when she's stunned? Do you attempt to restrain her, or run away, or pummel her, or what?
Where the hell is Riot? That's the $1 million question right now.
I like that you think discordance is Riot's problem.
I barely know her. Riot knows her better than I do.
I don't know about that. That's probably not true. But yeah, she's not going to fail this save forever, so what are you doing with her?
Yeah, I'm gonna say, calm down. Listen, I haven't fought with you yet. I haven't fought on side by side with you before, so I don't know your capabilities. I know Mahogany's. That's why I asked him instead.
And her face, as you're talking to her, talking about how Mahogany's capabilities, like you haven't seen her capabilities, her face is flushing red with embarrassment as she fails that saving throw for the 3rd round in a row.
How long did I hold? Like, I think there's an upper limit of how long this thing holds.
What is it?
It's his key blocking ability that he gets for being way of open flow.
Wait, the shifting flow. Yeah. Target's key remains disrupted until it succeeds on saving throw.
Yeah, so she'll be stunned forever if she doesn't pass this save.
I looked up the saving throw, by the way. It's 8 plus proficiency plus wisdom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That sounds
yeah.
right.
Yeah,
It says it right there.
we did it right.
So she's going to... you can see her, she keeps trying to pick herself up, but she just can't. I mean, you got her key blocked and good. But she's not responding to you. She's still viciously angry.
I'm gonna help her to her feet then.
Help her up.
Yeah.
And she, with as much strength as she can muster, she swats your hand away. Nothing this round?
Nothing this round.
All right. Hey, that'll do it.
All right.
Eventually, she finally gets herself back to her feet, and she holds out her hand, and she takes a few hurried steps away from you. And she just says that this isn't over, and that before long, you will be able to see her capabilities.
Fair enough.
And then she flees the scene.
I gotta find Happy.
So, as you're bragging about these fights, you're telling people to be there at this time. They kind of, they want to see you fight because you're a weird masked man, and half of them just saw you take down this scary winged lady in the street, which was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
But they're kind of confused as why they would have to go to the arena when they could just watch through any of the scrying stones.
Scrying stones. What are you talking about?
And you learn that Zemdir has contacts throughout the hive, whom he has gifted certain establishment owners these magic stones, which can be used to look at the arena. Essentially, he's running a pay-per-view scheme.
Nice.
So none of these people you're talking to know where Zemdir lives or where the arena is.
They should just join the network. It's a lot cheaper per month.
This is pretty shady.
But they're all very excited to watch you fight. In fact, I mean, sometimes they're taking bets right in front of you. Some of them are betting on you, some of you against you.
I don't really care about all that.
More people are betting against you than on you. A lot of people have confidence in you.
They know anything about my opponents?
No, because Zemdir's fighters usually don't go through the hive bragging about it.
Okay then.
They're very excited. You're one of the first. Everybody's looking forward to, they want to know. Which one are you, Ballbreaker or the Bear?
On the third.
They say that Ballbreaker and the Bear and the third doesn't have quite a nice ring to it.
It's a work in progress. We just put it together.
During the course of this, of the afternoon, after your altercation with Discordance and speaking with some of these people, you managed to find just a little gut house somewhere in the hive. And it doesn't even have a name. It just has a carving of what looks like it might be a tankard of ale on a huge board that's covering one of the windows of the place.
Mm-hmm.
No door on the hinges, just a doorway walking in. And this is one of the places you're led to understand has one of these scrying stones.
Alright.
And that's where you find yourself over the course of your journey through the hive.
Okay. I mean, I don't have any money to pay for anything to observe anything that might be going on, but...
Well, the scrying stone they have set up on a wooden pillar that's been built to hold it. They've kind of nailed some boards together that kind of come together like fingers to hold this mostly round rock.
Okay.
To your eyes, it just looks like a piece of maybe granite or marble or something.
I'll look at this. I'll take a look at it. Just take a few steps around it, as long as nobody's obviously, as long as nobody's trying to stop me from doing so. I'll take a look at it.
Well, nobody stops you, but it's not the friendliest place in the world. In fact, I should be rolling on the random encounter table to see how often you get shivved.
Fine.
Ciclon doing anything else in the hive this afternoon?
No, that's going to do it for this afternoon. Like I said, I got to find Happy after this.
Okay. Riot.
Mm-hmm.
You meet up with Dinkflink and you head over to the lower ward where this property that's owned by Sprig and Red is. And the place looks mostly demolished. It's this little metal structure a few blocks away from the foundry. And there is a spiked iron fence that goes all around the property, but you only see pieces of it. And you can tell that this once surrounded a much larger building, but that the building was either demolished or fell into ruin or gods know what. And now there's just this one small metal structure standing, and other buildings have encroached on the territory. So now you've got this like anachronistic fence kind of walling off nothing. But next to where the gate is the address that was mentioned to you at the Hall of Records.
Okay. Is the gate... How tall is the gate?
There's no gate anymore, but the fence, maybe 12 feet tall. Definitely built in such a way, the bladed spikes at the top curve outward. Definitely built in such a way to tell people, hey, don't climb this fence.
Is there a way in anywhere?
Oh yeah, absolutely. You can walk right up to the structure.
Oh, okay. Alright, yeah, I'll knock on the door.
And the door itself is made of metal as well. And kind of warm to the touch as you knock on it. Dinkflake looks very anxious about this meeting. And she says, last time anybody talked with Sprig and Red, last time she was in the shop, she swore she would curse all the middle bobs to their graves. You don't think that's, you don't have anything to worry about, right?
I don't think harsh language is anything we have to be afraid of.
And eventually you hear a shrill voice from inside that shouts out, "What are you selling?"
We're selling a fantastic opportunity for yourself. Are you Red Spriggan?
And Dinkfleet elbows you and says, "Spriggan Red."
Right, Spriggan Red?
And the voice from inside calls out again and says, "We will take no callers today. Be gone."
Said it's very important.
And no response.
I'll open the door.
Okay, the door's unlocked. Just open it up.
Yeah.
And what kind of light source do you have? Do you have dark vision?
I don't have dark vision, but I can put up a produce flame at will.
Okay. And if you open up the door, just this wave of heat hits you. Not like walking into an oven, more like walking outside from the inside of an air-conditioned building.
Okay.
But there's no light inside, but something about the air here is radiating heat. And you and Dinkflink take 2 steps inside before you hear very loud the sound of footfalls on a metal staircase. And the little old gnomish woman, dressed in gray robes and wearing the accoutrements of a necromancer, talking about like little skulls on a necklace around her neck. She's clutching some kind of bone wand. Mm-hmm. She has what looks like aged vines with thorns woven in her scraggly gray hair, and she stomps up this spiral metal staircase. So you kind of see her head bobbing in a circle for a moment at the end of this hallway. And as she does, she cries out, "I said no more callers!" And then she catches herself when she sees Dinkflink standing there, and her eyes narrow as she says, "Oh, it's you." And Dinkflink lets you take the lead.
I say we're here on behalf of your Aunt Nancy.
And she says, "I have 17 aunts that I know of, and I know of no Aunt Nancy."
It says, "Oh, then you haven't been paid a visit? Hasn't left any letters to you, any belongings?"
She holds up her hand and kind of dismisses your inquiries. Says, "If you're going to be here, you might as well make yourself useful. Come downstairs immediately." And then she starts stomping back down this spiral staircase.
And I motioned for Dinkling to follow.
And Dinkflink does. Are you going with her, or are you just sending Dinkflink to her doom?
No, I'm going with her. She's going behind me.
The inside of this structure is definitely made for someone of a gnomish stature, so you have a really difficult time squeezing your way down this spiral staircase. Are you still wearing your faded disguise? I guess I should have asked first.
No, that would have dropped on the way. It'll last an hour.
Okay. And then you squeeze into this tiny room. Again, metal walls, and there's this weird oppressive heat in the air. And you're in the lower level of the dwelling, you're to the point where you have to stoop, because the ceiling is only maybe about 4 feet.
Mm-hmm.
And you follow her into a larger room, and you see things on the walls of this room that, if this were Ravenloft, I would have you make a horror check. Shrunken heads, pieces of monsters, fetuses in jars, that kind of thing. She has some kind of foul, acrid-smelling herbs dangling from the ceiling in ropes, and you're pretty sure 1 or 2 of these ropes have intestines twined around them. In the back of the room, unlit, but she has an honest-to-God witch's cauldron back there. And on one side of the room, there's a chair. And the chair has lots of metal parts and wires coming off of it. The chair is made out of what looks like welded together metal grating. So holes in the base of the chair and in the armrests and in the back of it. And then on the back of the chair, attached with a hinge, is a large metal bowl. And she says, "I will pay you 10 silver pieces for 1 hour in the chair." And Dinkflink just lowers her head into her hands.
And Riot says, "How about this? You can keep your money, and you'll answer 3 questions for me for 1 hour in the chair."
And she puts her little silver pouch away that she was about to fish out. And then she very excitedly waves you towards the chair.
All right, I'll sit in it.
And you do. And she comes over, and she fastens Riot's wrists down with leather straps. She reaches up, pushes the metal bowl over. And as she does this, she says to Dinkflink, says, "Do you want to cover your eyes, little one? I know you middle bobs don't have the stomach for this kind of thing." And Dinkflink begins to plead with you, saying that it's probably for the best you forget this and we just go.
And Riot says, "Hey, listen, I took 6 gold from you. This has got to be worth that, right?"
So, Spriggan Red goes to the back of the room, next to where the cauldron is, where she has a shelf filled with these disgusting necromantic ingredients.
Mm-hmm.
And she takes hold of a large metal lever. And she says, "You may ask your questions."
Okay, first question. When was the last time you were off Sigil?
And she says that just last week she was in the Grey Wastes, and she indicates a jar with something horrible in it, where she acquired this little treasure. And then she throws the switch, and you need to make a Constitution saving throw.
Okay. Let me see what my con is. I think it's 0, but yeah. That's a 7.
That's a 7?
Yep.
8 points of lightning damage.
Okay.
As electricity courses through your head, makes all of your hair stand on end. And this only happens for a few seconds. You feel this electricity coursing through your body, and then you hear a very loud pop from somewhere beneath you, under the chair. And then just the smell of smoke, and you're blinded by this column of smoke coming up. Spriggan Red lets out some curses. You hear the clanking of tools as your vision starts to clear, as she waddles over and she hunches down next to the chair. You hear her cranking something with a wrench. And she says, very well, what is your second question?
Were you contacted there by Aunt Nancy?
And she says, I don't know anyone named Aunt Nancy.
And it occurs to me. One moment, please. This is still part of my second question, by the way. Dinkflink, what's he look like? Describe Aunt Nancy to her. I don't know if he looks the same to you as he does to me.
And Dinkflink describes the man you know to be Aunt Nancy.
Okay.
Right down to the clothing and his manner of speech.
And the mutton chops.
And the mutton chops.
Him, did you ever meet him?
In Spriggan Red, you hear the wrenching stop for a moment. Oh, him. Yes, I know him. He comes to me in my dreams. And then she very suddenly springs up into your face. The old gnomish visage takes up your entire field of vision. She has this like crazed, yellowed look in her eyes. She says, I have many, many dreams.
Did he ask you to do anything for him?
As she wags her finger back and forth and says, that's another question. And then she hunches back down and begins wrenching again.
Okay.
So you're there for a moment until she's pretty sure she's repaired whatever it was. Then she goes back over to the switch and throws it again. Hey, make that saving throw again.
Okay.
Guys, I think we're in the giggle dungeon.
We found the actual giggle dungeon. All right.
This one's a 12.
That's good, because I rolled much higher this time. 6 points of lightning damage. And, again, there's a loud pop in the column of smoke. And only now do you notice that one of the wires from the chair is connecting to an empty jar on a shelf next to you. The lid of which looks to be welded shut, whereas a normal jar would be sealed with wax. And there's some kind of, like maybe an inch of standing liquid in the bottom of it. And you see it bubbling for just a moment, and then stops as the chair breaks a second time. And she curses and hunches down and begins banging on something below you in the chair. Dinkflink looks equal parts curious and terrified at this situation.
I'm going to cast a message here.
Okay.
To Dinkflink. Tell her, quick while she's not looking, disconnect that wire.
And you see Dinkflink's eyes dart over to the wire. And she nods very, kind of worriedly as she pulls a knife. And as she's working, Spriggan Red asks for your last question. As you see Dinkflink kind of covertly cut the wire at the floor, where it meets the leg of this table.
What was the last thing this man asked you to do?
And again, her face pops up just as Dinkflink puts the knife behind her back, nonchalantly. Spriggan's face pops up in yours, and she looks almost proud of herself as she says, he asked me to kill a god. And then she waddles back over to the switch and throws it a third time. Hey, make that saving throw.
Okay. Straight 10.
Straight 10? Mm-hmm. Whew, big roll. I'm going to be so happy if this knocks you out. 25 points.
Yep, that'll knock me out.
So you black out in the chair. And go ahead and knock yourself down to 1 hit point.
Okay.
And when you come to, your nose is, you're just conscious of the sensation of blood in your nose dribbling down your face. And you smell burned tiefling and singed hair. And you awake to Spriggan kind of forcefully slapping your face back and forth. As she says, I have good news. The chair works. And then she starts undoing the leather straps binding your wrist.
Right, grins weakly, says, "Nice doing business with you."
And she waddles over to the jar. And she scratches her chin. She says, "But the soul drinker component does not seem to be connected correctly."
That sounds like a shame.
And
Slaps each crit, you die.
that's it for her. She's pretty well disposed towards you at the moment because you've helped her with some insane mad science experiment. But what else do you have for Spriggan Red?
I'll ask her. So why haven't you pursued any of this man's offers?
She says she's busy with her own experiments, with her own work here, the kinds of things that the middle bobs shy away from.
And I'll point out. Dinkling says, "This one's middle bob. She's here."
And Spriggan seems to consider that for a moment. And she says, "Yes, that's true. Why did you come here with your furry little friend?" And Dinkflink stammers something about how they need Spriggan's help with Aunt Nancy. And then defers back to you to do the convincing.
Yeah, and I explained to Spriggan that it's all part of the game. If you don't start playing soon, your team's going to lose. At the end of the game, fantastic riches.
And she likes the prospect of fantastic riches. But then she closes her eyes and shakes her head and says, "Oh, but it's impossible to wrangle all of these middle bobs from all parts of the family, many of which wouldn't deign to be seen with the likes of me. I think it's because I don't brush my hair."
But it's not necessary for every member of the team to go on every part of the game. If you just get out there once in a while, you could profit from it.
And she sets herself to work organizing or disorganizing something on her shelf of mad science equipment. And you learn from her that she knows the identities of the other players and that she suspects that everybody does. And if by some miracle you manage to wrangle them all together and get them all to at least agree to pursue it, that it's definitely something that would catch her interest, if only to see what kind of alchemical ingredients could be harvested from the corpse of a newly dead god.
All right. And the last thing I'll ask her before we leave is, did he give you any details on what god it was? Any signs, any symbols, any names?
He would have, but I don't have that information at hand at the moment.
Okay. But suffice to say, it wasn't Osprey.
No, it wasn't Ostrom, and it's not any deity that Riot's ever heard of.
Okay, I don't need to know details beyond that.
Yeah. And as you turn to go, she gets a gunny sack from the corner and hands it to Dinkflink. And Dinkflink asks what it's for. And she said, "If you're going to take this seriously, you're going to have to kidnap that little cherry ivy." And then she cackles maniacally. So anything else with Spriggan, or are you done here?
No, we're done here.
And as you're leaving, Dinkflink says, "She's probably right about that, you know."
Well, if she is, then it won't have been the most painful and unpleasant thing I've done in service of your company.
She wants to know how many little girls you've kidnapped.
Riot starts to think for a second.
Just the one.
And when she sees Riot's thinking, you realize she was asking jokingly, and now she's just more horrified.
And I see her look horrified and said, "Oh, don't worry, that wasn't in the service of the game. That's not something you'll have to do."
It's just a hobby I have. So that's 1 down and 6 to go.
Yep.
So which one is Riot going to work on next?
I think we will leave off Cherry Ivy for now because it seems like that's a good last or second to last kidnapping candidate. I'm going to go after Kekina next. We're gonna go to the middle Bob prime world.
Okay. Thinkflink says that they could arrange that journey, but it's not a short journey. You can't just pop off there.
Yeah.
You would take a portal to Bytopia, follow one of their trade routes to a little village established by the Middle Bobs on Bytopia, and from there there's a portal that links to another village in the Prime Material. But that Bytopia trek is at least a 6-day journey, weather permitting.
Okay. All right, Sis. Then I'll take tonight to rest up, and I'll see you in the morning then.
And she nods. So that's going to bring us to... That's it. Mahogany and Serenity are just resting tonight. Or this afternoon.
Okay, yeah.
All right, so evening actions. Riot, you're going to rest up for tomorrow's journey? Nope.
Nope. Evening action, Riot has 1 gold, and she is going to go and try and get herself some.
Some peanut butter on a hot dog bun?
Man, the kids are fucked up these days.
I mean, 1 gold can buy you some pretty nice companionship in Sigil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's got this 1 Bahamut gold, and that's how she's going to use it.
Is getting laid, huh?
Now,
Yep.
what you got to do, though, is you got to turn on your webcam because we're going to LARP that scene.
I didn't realize we were playing Honeycam Studio. I mean, come on.
All right, so Riot, I'm just going to put down Nookie for this evening. What's Ciclon doing this evening?
Ciclon is going to the marketplace to track down Happy.
When you say marketplace, you mean the Great Bazaar?
Yeah. That.
Mahogany, Serenity, and Kelian are going to the shack, yes?
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're gonna kill a guy.
You're going to kill a guy.
Gonna kill a man.
Ciclon,
Hey.
you managed to find Happy at the bazaar in the evening, and it looks like he just got done. He and a couple of the other in-depths here, it looks like they just got done breaking up a fight between a couple of in-depths and a couple of off-duty Harmonium who didn't shed their armor. Like, the in-depths were going to kill these guys, and Happy and a couple of his guys came in here and saw it. At the end of the day, everybody but Happy and maybe one of his friends is pretty well beaten up. And you come on it just as he's coming off of his combat high.
I'll say, go up to him and say, hey, Happy, I just had a run-in with our mutual friend.
And he doesn't know who you're talking about. You mean Riot?
Discordance, you doofus.
Oh, she's not my friend.
Well,
She broke my arm, remember?
yeah, I remember that. I was being sarcastic, but anyway.
We're your friends.
He said.
Anyway, she yeah, as you expected, she was not happy about the arrangement that we came to. So
He's like, no, I'm happy. She's discordant.
no, she was not pleased with that with the arrangement, and I'm guessing she might try some trouble at whatever we end up having to do at our bout.
And he asks what we should do about it.
Well, she didn't present too much power against me when we ran into each other, but I don't know how much she's really capable of right now.
Hopefully she'll be on the other team because I jobbed her.
Well, Happy says that he's sure you're more than capable of handling it.
All right, I just figured you should know. I'm about to go find Mahogany and let him know the same.
Okay, you're not gonna be able to find Mahogany tonight because he's
No.
gonna be in a place you don't know to look for him.
Yeah, exactly. That yes, Ciclon would drop by this shop, not find him, and then hope for the best, and then go crash out.
Break in and eat all of his hot dog buns.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah, let's eat all the hot dog buns.
Why not? People break into my house all night.
No, we request entry.
By the time the three of you make your way back up to the shack, the work has not subsided. Different people doing the work. Kelian brings you guys, I'm assuming, brings you guys up to speed on what he saw over the course of the day.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
You would.
Okay.
I like
I was
having
gonna
players
cast,
that aren't coy assholes about it.
I was going to cast Pass Without Trace before we set out.
Well, Kelian was already there. But you mean you cast it for yourself in Mahogany before you set out?
Once Kelian comes back.
Was Kelian never going to come back?
Yeah, so that was my thought, was Kelian spent the whole afternoon there. So by the time you guys were approaching in the evening, he would already be in the vicinity.
Well, as soon as we find him.
Okay.
Yeah, there's not much difference there.
How many times can you cast that?
Once.
All right, well,
But it
I
lasts
brought
an
it.
hour.
I prepared it for the day, so if we end up staying there for longer than an hour, I've got us covered.
So the work has not subsided. You got different monks that are working the night. At some point, Kelian, as the light started to fade into dusk, several of the monks got together and produced flames to light torches in the area. There not being any gas lamps in this part of the city. So they have light to work by. And so there's still this small amount of activity around the house. So what's the plan of attack?
I have a question.
Yes.
Are these monks? Like, do they appear to be using El Ciclone-like monk-like abilities?
You've never seen El Ciclone produce flame, I don't think.
But do they do anything that he does do? Like, do they... I don't know.
You've never seen them punch each other,
Alright.
or grapple each other,
Or
or get hit by 10
weapons.
arrows and fall unconscious.
That's true. That does seem like something.
Also, El Ciclone does not wear these kind of robes and does not, as far as you know, wield any weapons.
Got it.
So, sneaking through the back door? Or the door in the ground that goes down to the basement or whatever?
Sure.
Hey, so how are you going to sneak down that alley without being seen? What's the plan for that?
Let's just go across the roost, then lower our way down.
Okay.
Sounds good.
I figure we have a better chance of not making noise with Pass Without Trace than...
Yeah.
Okay. So you're going to use the rooftops to go across them.
Mhm.
Okay. I will. Who has the worst stealth amongst the three of you?
It's going to change depending on whether I'm an animal or not.
Well,
Mine
you-
is-
At the
plus
moment,
11.
I probably have the worst.
Mine's a plus 11, so mine's probably the worst.
That's with pass without trace.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh.
You are taking the plus 10 to from pass, right?
Alright,
Kelian?
then.
Oh, you have
But
plus
mine is
11?
much
Okay,
better.
I have plus 13, so no matter what, I won't be the worst.
I have plus 20.
Whoever has the worst stealth, go ahead and make a stealth check. That's going to be the stealth check for the party during this rooftop mission.
21.
21.
bad.
That'll do it. You guys managed to lower yourself down onto the roof of your target building, and then from there, use the shadow cast by the bigger building behind it. Use the shadow to sneak to the alleyway and drop down to the ground without a sound. Now, standing in this alleyway, Kelian, you notice a sound that you did not notice this morning. It sounds, and it's very, very faint, but it sounds like chanting underground beneath you.
Is it ominous chanting?
You can't hear it. Only Kelian can hear it.
Kelian makes a motion that he hears something in the basement. He points to his ear and then he points to the cellar.
Alright, I'll try to listen.
Okay, roll a perception check at disadvantage. Because you've got all the ambient noise from the street as well. Kelian was here earlier today, so he knows what to listen
No,
for.
it's fine. My perception's red.
Actually, make a super disadvantage check. Roll 60 20s.
That's a 18.
And if you get really low to the ground and listen for it, make a conscious effort to drown out the rest of the sounds, yeah, you do hear it as well.